Hello everyone. So this evening we'll be capturing NGC6960. It's the Filamentary Nebula. Catching it with some narrowband filters and a little bit of luminance as well. So we got a bit of HA, hydrogen alpha, S2, sulfur and oxygen 3 ongoing here. You'll see that the current frame is based on luminance. So even though the stars are coming through, you're not going to see much that's actually there. So we're at 87% now. It's building up towards the S2 filter. So the S2 should show us a little bit more. We'll see. And there you have S2. Now, you'll notice there's so much detail that comes through there. A bit more detail than there would be on luminance, but it's, you know, the different wavelengths, it's the different visibility. So, actually what I will do is go back to a previous narrowband filter. So, say if we just load in the HA that we took right at the start of the sequence. As you can see there, a lot more detail between HA and luminance. If we go to luminance now, you'll see even though the wave is actually there, you can barely see it, but the stars are more prominent. And then obviously with S2 you get a little bit more detail, only subtle. And then with oxygen 3 you will get detail again. Now, there is a slight side effect of oxygen 3 where you end up with these funky halos around the super bright lights. I don't know what level it is that it actually occurs, but it's very pronounced, shall we say. But obviously, as soon as you come out of oxygen 3 and go back onto HA, you see the halo then disappears. So let me take us back up to where we were up to. We're on S2 here. And by the way, we are doing 300-second exposures. So basically 5 minutes. For each of these filters. And we are doing 20 loops of these 4 filters this evening. We'll see how it goes with the clouds. Obviously you can see the fact that there is a cloud camera. I can't even put my mouse over the top because it won't do it. But basically that's a cloud camera, which is hosted in the observatory and it's looking straight up. Now, it is super bright simply due to the fact that that is the moon coming over the top. And you can also see the fact that we have the telescope here up in the top corner as well. That is orientated over to the west at this moment in time, where this nebula is in the sky. So as you'll see in a few seconds, that it's about to load in the O3 filter. Now, notice there, look at that. It's come in with that halo again, which is obviously on that narrowband filter. It's one of the biggest problems that you do tend to find. Now I thought I'd just really mention this cloud camera here, which I can't put my mouse over the top of. So this was a recent addition to the observatory, and basically what it is I grab this photo here, which you can't see because it's on a different area. So if I switch over to desktop capture, the other things are going to disappear probably, but be fine. Okay, so here we have. So this is the cloud camera, which is currently active on the observatory. Now this is a IP66 junction box, which I decided to use, and obviously I decided to cut into that junction box, and it's I added like a little dome and everything to the top of it. Now it is basically running a Raspberry Pi 4 with an ZWO ASI 120mm Mini. I decided to go for the Raspberry Pi 4 simply due to the fact that it actually has Wi-Fi built into it by default. Even though it's got an Ethernet, and I could plug into the Ethernet as well, to be honest. I just decided to go with the Wi-Fi. It was just easy, and I didn't have to worry about trying to fit the Ethernet cable through the side of the box or anything like that. But obviously I did cut into the top here. I added like some rubber grommets, and they allow this ASI 120mm Mini to be hosted in the top. Now, the other thing on the ASI 120 Mini is the fact that I added a fisheye lens onto here as well. So the fisheye lens is what's given me the wider kind of focal diameter on the sky that allows me to kind of see a little bit more than I normally would do. A wide field lens basically. And obviously you can see it's when it's mounted into the back of that plate that it's working pretty well. So I decided to kind of host it in the observatory. Yeah, I know it's above a router, and I could have just plugged the Wi-Fi and the Ethernet straight into that one as well. But as I said, I decided to go with Wi-Fi, and you know, come on, seriously, it's not that far away. So from a proximity point of view, it works pretty well. So let me just flip back over to the primary observatory. And you can kind of see then where that camera is looking straight up, and obviously we have got the main camera on the observatory telescope as well. So just in case somebody was wondering, this is not a sun, it's not a star occurring here. Using a lot of the astronomy based, well, dedicated astronomy cameras, they do tend to end up with a thing called amp glow, from obviously the heat and obviously everything that's kind of coming out from the camera. Now there are some newer cameras I know of that they've significantly been able to reduce this amp glow. I'm using the ASI 294mm Pro from ZWO, which obviously does still have the amp glow, but in your final image what you're able to do is basically, if you take things that are called flats, which basically are, it's almost like a dark, not flats, sorry, darks. Flats help as well. If you take a dark, so what you're basically doing is masking off the entire camera and telescope to just take like 5-minute exposure in the dark. What will basically happen is you will still end up with that amp glow. Now when you stack all these images together eventually, which pulls out all the detail, you add darks and flats into these images, and what it does is it extracts or neutralizes this kind of like over accentuating light value from the final images, so you don't see it at the end of the day. Now I mentioned flats as well, and what flats do is it removes any other additional kind of like discrepancies in your images which might be on the scope lens, on the tube, on the filters, etc. So over time you end up with like dust motes that will, or just muck in general, that'll end up on your scope filters. So what that happens is you end up with like little dust bunnies, little circles all over the place. You'll end up with like a little bit of vignetting as well, to be perfectly honest. And what the flats do with the darks is kind of like neutralize, well, try to neutralize a lot of that information and removes it from the stacking process. So when you get the final outcome from something, so if I was to open up something I took just recently, let me have a look. And I will switch over to the desktop in a second when I find the image I am looking for. Yeah, okay, so NGC, yeah, okay, so here we go. Okay, so let me switch over to the desktop a second.